Check my phone. Oh, got a little feedback there. So I think we are live. I'm checking my phone.
Okay.
I think we're good. Just gonna freestyle this.
Mine says on air.
Okay, I think we're there. Let's see. Clicking on the button. I think we are. We're spinning. So I think that's good, Lou. We're live, so I'm gonna have you introduce yourself. Sorry for the technical difficulty. Whoever joins us, joins us. We have it on replay. So introduce yourself, then we'll chop it up.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Cheryl Abram of Person Centered Cyber. And I am happy to be here with Professor BlackOps to talk about some zero trust frameworks.
That's cool. We've been going back and forth about zero trust for a while, so I decided to let's go live. Let's talk about it. So let me get our slides together as I am struggling. Okay, let's see. Boom, boom. Let's see. Share my screen. So how was your day?
Oh my God, it was so busy. It was, I'm telling you, policy and compliance and all that stuff, busy. I'm telling you, it never stops.
Yeah, I don't think those two things get enough respect in the world. So I thought you said we are gonna chop it up about user interface and a little compliance today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You see, I'm sure you can see it. I'm sharing our slides. We kind of went over and just kind of dig into them a little more.
Okay.
Okay. Let me do one thing real quick before we get started. So why is there a particular reason you wanted to chop it up about compliance today?
So you know what? One of the things that I've noticed in a lot of training, the training I've been to, training that's given for free, all of that stuff, right? Is it's super duper duper technical, and to just leave it there. I mean, very few people, even blue teamers, people who are, taking training, be in the SOC and stuff like that, have never heard of the STIGs, have no idea what the CIS checks are. I mean, seriously, none of that. No idea.
Oh, I know it's so
And I think that's nuts to me.
so.
It's nuts.
You don't have to answer this question, but you had a post on LinkedIn where you were beating up red team. Can you expand on that? I was a little worried for your safety last
Well,
couple days ago, so I'm just checking on you, make sure you're okay.
so the one of the recent breaches, which you have in your slides today, I think we're going to talk about it today.
We are.
Um, yeah. So it was what I was saying was okay. What I'm noticing is like when these things happen from a lot of prominent people, what we hear is, okay, we got to do more pen testing. We got to do more red teaming. We got to do more, so it feels like, okay, somebody just broke into my house. Okay. So now you're telling me we have to practice more breaking into houses. I mean, how is that gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of sense does that make? So what I was saying was, for people who want to do that, do that. That's fine. Keep breaking in houses, breaking windows, breaking in cars, do all that stuff, right? But where are the security people? I mean, for a blue teamer to be taught more red team than blue team, to know nothing about the STIGs is just so ridiculous to me that I can't even fathom, So I get very heated when, when I see this going on, and I see the solution is to do more pen testing. It's just crazy.
But like
I
we
don't know.
talked about, I never heard of them actually till I went to DOD. To be honest, it was like a foreign concept, and I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
sticks for shit 15 years. I mean, so it's kind of weird, and that's the only thing I promote. I get beat up a lot of times, even about recommending the sticks because people say it's too difficult, it's too costly. But I'm like you. I tell people if you want to lock down a box and think you at a high level, I always go with the sticks. And like we talked about, it rolls up to the policies. So you actually have a cybersecurity program. That's what I want to bring to YouTube. Like you said, we got hackers, pen testers. Shout out to them. We got a little purple team now. But let's talk about the totality of securing a box with the processes, procedures, policies, and everything. Let's do a program. Let's take it up a level. So,
Absolutely. And let me say this last thing before you get started. I put another article on LinkedIn after I had that, that rant, where I think he was like the former director in NSA, something like that, where he said, because he was talking about how, the United States, we have APTs too.
oh, without a
You're not
doubt.
going to see, you're not going to see stories about it around here. You have to go to another country or something to read that story. But, but what he was saying was, he actually said, breaking in, he said, how did he say that? Like breaking in is easier than defending. Defending is hard, he
Oh,
said.
oh yeah, without a doubt.
But who's going to do what's hard? We need people who can do the hard thing, you know? Otherwise, what is it?
Like
What's
we
going
talked
to,
about, though, people get enamored with the functionality. They want to make sure it looks
yeah,
good in the interface. We don't worry about security till after the end. Because once you look good, you
yeah,
get the investor money, but then you figure out you don't have any security, then you got hacked. So it's kind of like
mm-hmm,
we need to do that up front because it's always cheaper to do up
yeah.
front. But because you got to think Facebook was done in the dude's bedroom, Snapchat, they weren't done, but they were just college kids with the next cool app. Now they're
And that's
big.
the thing. That's what I'm saying. All it is, thinking like a hacker for 21 years now. Why is, somebody who just heard the word, cybersecurity can do that in 10 minutes or what, it's just crazy.
Yeah, so that's it.
It makes no sense.
So yeah, so me, shout out to Alpha Cyber. He's not here, but so we were talking about that. Like I think I told you that I was gonna do a blue team and see if he can hack it because that makes us a whole program. Because like you said, blue
Yeah.
team and red team needs to work together. So let's
There's only one team, you
right,
know?
but you never think that because you outside here is red team and it's the cool. That one lady, I
I,
forgot her name. I think she was on Gavson. She's getting purple team hot. Hack purple. I think it's her hashtag hack purple.
I
I seen
I
it.
think Alpha Cyber had her on his
Yeah,
channel,
he
didn't he?
did.
Did
Yeah,
he
yeah.
interview
So
her?
yeah,
I know who you're talking
so
about.
Hack
Hmm.
Purple's good, but still, that's just the app. That's just the app in
Yeah.
development. So there's still a whole lot of pieces we missing.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
so long story short, you reached out to me and like you said, let's do a little about zero trust. Then we talked a little bit, and I said, let's do it on my channel. We all good. Let's just put it on my channel. I got to do a better job going live and figure out all this stuff. I forgot to hit one button. I'm gonna confess. I forgot to hit one button. Like, you got to hit go live on YouTube and go live in OBS. I forgot the OBS
Okay.
go live. So shout out to the crowd. I'm sorry if y'all missed it. Tune in later. I'll do better next week. I'm working on it, people. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So let's go through and just kind of walk through, like you said, like we did last time. Let's just have a chat over
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
So what are STIGs? Oh, let me back up. Oh, I gotta get better with this software. So what are STIGs? They're from NIST, National Institute of Standard. Provide, I'm gonna summarize it, federal guidance and acceptance for FISMA, Federal Information Security Management Act. That's for the Department of DoD, for the Defense Information Act. And STIGs actually stands for Security Technical Implementation Guidelines or Configuration Standard for DoD information. STIG contains technical guidance to lock down information systems and software. So even when you do a small system, it's going to be about 3,000 checks, right? So I always
Hmm.
tell people I think this is the most comprehensive and the most tested STIGs. They usually come out with new versions every year with the new virus. They actually include OWASP from development. So I think it's a totality of a blue team locking down the
So
system.
what do you mean by small system? What's a small system compared to a big one?
Okay, I consider a small system use three-tier application, web server, app server. When you
Okay.
log on, you either use an Active Directory or LDAP, and maybe you got a load
Okay.
balancer. And we'll go over that one classic state. A big system, when you got one of the systems I work on, they got 70 web servers. It's like, dude,
Oh.
20 app servers, Oracle database. Then you got Cisco. You got all the router stuff. You got the
Oh
Cisco
man.
router, load balancer. You got just a ton of stuff where if you up in the cloud, that's why I do Amazon. Amazon's gonna take care of all that for you. And they actually
Mm-hmm.
have a government cloud that if you want to pay extra, they'll make sure it's STIG for you and they do all that stuff. So then you don't have to actually focus on your app.
Okay.
So that's what a small system is. Because I help small clients and guys trying to do federal work in HIPAA, OSHA. So usually they have a couple web server, app server going to MySQL. So that's what I call them, my small app. They don't have this full blown Active Directory,
Yeah,
Cisco,
yeah.
Fire, all that whole stuff. So
Right.
that's the difference between a small and a big system. So like I said,
Oh,
I shout out to the Stigs. That's what I use. A lot of people complain about them. I got my homie in the box, CL. We do stuff together, so we get a lot of complaints. Shout out to Kenny Conjos. Uh, all good. Thanks for tuning in. So I did is this the right one? Yeah, Windows Server 2019. It had 304 checks. Right slide. 33 highs, 257 mediums, and 14 checks. I gotta make sure. I think this is the one we went over yesterday. Is this the one we went over yesterday? Let
I
me go.
think so.
Let me go down to the bottom. I got so much going on. Let me flow to the bottom.
You have a different one? Two of
I
these?
I think I'm on the wrong slide. I could pull it up. Here,
Let me see.
let me get to the bottom. I think this is the one I was gonna do the night for. I need to switch over. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my bad. I got too much going on.
All right.
No, this is the one. This is the one. This is the right one. So where we
Oh,
at?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Right.
because it
Yeah.
had the pulse at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let me hit this. So for Windows Server 2019, I just added to the bottom. It was 304 checks, which is a nice number. 304 checks, 33 highs, 257 checks, medium lows was 14. So you're just talking about one database. I'm sorry, one web server. So there's still a ton of stuff left to check. So these were just some of the highs, mediums, and lows. So I'm not gonna go through these. We can talk about these. So these are just the different checks you would do on a Windows server. I think I'm gonna actually break this down.
And by high, when you say high, that means it's important
Yeah,
or something like
super easy to crack and super easy to hack.
that. Okay.
Okay, so this is the sticks. You can actually comes with the Amazon Windows Server if you want. Amazon actually provides these for you for free that you can click if you want to actually stick your Windows Server for you. Then this one too, you can actually go buy some from other companies. So they had a couple ways to actually do that.
Now, what do you mean by that, Professor Black Ops? One is free and one you're buying. What are you buying?
That one with the other one that you buy. What happened
Yeah.
is of course you could actually buy them at a cost. It's super cheap. It's like I think it was like 6 cents an hour or 3 cents an hour. Amazon thought they were so needed. They just did their after that. They did a AMI, which is basically you spinning up a server already stick. They did one for free because that's how Amazon work. You figured out then if they like that and they think it's a big market, they do it for free because they want government clients to come sign up on their server. They say, here, you can take this configuration for you free. So when you spin it up, all of your checks are already on there. You don't have to
Oh,
manually
they're already
configure.
there?
Yeah, to be honest, you have to start taking stuff out because one of those is they don't want you to log in remotely,
Mm-hmm.
which you can't do in COVID. So you would actually go and cut that off. Then you
Mm-hmm.
would put like we talk about mitigated control. You would cut that off, then say when I log onto this server as a privileged user, call my phone. I want to have MFA,
Okay.
right? Multi-factor authentication. So that's when we talk about compensated control, right? If
Okay.
you're gonna cut
Okay.
that off, what you gonna do to help protect it? So you put
Right.
your
Right.
multi-factor control on there.
Okay.
So what is zero trust? Instead of believing everything behind the corporate firewall is safe, the zero trust model assumes breach and verify each request as though it originates from an uncontrolled network. Regardless of where the requests originate, what sources access, zero trust teaches us to never trust, always verify. The trust model, every access request is strongly authenticated, authorized with policy constraint, and inspected for anomalies before granting access. Everything from the user identity to the application host environment is used to prevent breach. We apply microsegmentation and least privileged access principle to minimize lateral movement. Finally, rich intelligence and analytics help us identify what happened, what was compromised, and how to prevent it from happening again. AKA a SIM, which you log in everything, then you can run through those logs and kind of figure out if somebody has actually breached you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now because I'm a very, visual person and I love metaphor, all right? If I can try to explain this in a everyday way for somebody who may be looking at it like, what is it again? So, yeah, now I shared this with you yesterday, so let me know, if this is still correct, all right? So when I typically when I see, what they call it, defense in depth, right? They show that picture of the castle where you have the moat around it and all this other stuff protecting everything inside, right? Which is kind of like, what the traditional thing is. If you got a key to come in, you're good.
Right.
You can just move to various places on the inside. So with zero trust, it's not like that. Like you go bust down the castle, you can forget that, okay? Because first of all, everything is not just in one place. We're distributed, especially with COVID, all over the place, right? So when I see that, what I think about is a movie I just watched called The Others. It's a horror movie, very, very good, where this lady would go around her house and open, she had a key for every single door, right, in her own house that she would open, unlock, go in, and then lock again before she got to the next door, right? Which sounds like a lot of effort to me to have to, in your own house, have a key for every door, is a closet door, a bathroom door, like whatever door you have in your house, right? But that's essentially what zero trust is saying. You can't come in this door without authenticating. Again, you just did it. I know you just did it over here, but now this is another place you're going, within this network, and you got to do it again, basically.
True, that's a good analogy. That is true.
Okay.
The three main principles of that is, you can see on the screen, we're going to verify explicitly everything, like you just said. We're going to verify identity, location, device health, service, and workload, and data classification and anomalies. So we're going to verify all of that. Use least privilege access. That's all. You only get what you need to get. We don't give extra. A lot of times developers complain we just gotta give them a management and too much rights so they can, but we're gonna lock it down on what you need, and we're gonna assume every component is already breached, so we're gonna need extra security around every component to verify. So when you log on with your laptop, we're gonna make sure we verify. When you go to the database and you pull out records, we're gonna make sure you verify to make sure you are the person who was supposed to do that. So.
Okay. Now, does that apply to everybody? Because I'm having a hard time having worked in government, seeing like SES members being, having to do the same thing that other employees are doing,
Since I worked in government, SCS, for people who know, is right management, the high level people, right?
Yeah.
So what we need to do, and I did it, well, I'm going to have a couple other guys on there. What we did is we convinced them that they really don't need access. It took them a while to figure that out because we told them, if you cause us to get breached, big boss, you're going to be in big trouble because you don't really need access.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of those guys used to be programmers. They used to have horns, so they were used to, so you just got to convince them. So you got to tell them, you're the leader. You need to lead us to least privilege. If you're saying I have to have it, then a rank and file gonna have to say it. You need to do it by example, big boss. I used to call him big boss because he was a 15. So I was like, you got to lead it. So he kind of figured out, okay, I do need to lead. And if my machine do get us hacked, I don't want to be in front of Congress talking about it was my machine, right?
Right.
I was like, let me help you. So that's us. And Cybersecurity guy said that's me leading from the bottom, right? I got to help leadership understand what they're doing and the risk they have.
Right.
Then I have to tell them, I was like, when the last time you logged on a box and changed somebody's password? 75, man? Come on. 75. That was a mainframe, man. Do you even know how to do that? Then they're like, okay, you're right. So I think we got to coach management up. Because management should be leading from top down, signing the policies, making sure they take all the training. Because if they pushing back, I ain't gonna never win because the rank and file is
That's
gonna push
true.
back,
Yep.
right? So this is the classic 3 tier. Then we talked about that. So the 3 tier, right? When the web server got hacked, that VM could talk to any VM, so you were toast, right? So microsegmentation is we lock down the VM in that box so they can't talk to each other. Because 9 times out of 10, web servers don't need to talk to each other. They're just gonna talk to who logged in and the app application behind there. So a lot of times when one gets hacked, that's how you get ransomware. They just start encrypting because they can talk to each other. So that's how you get your whole
Mm,
organization shot up in ransomware.
yeah.
So this right here, we talked about this. This is Microsoft Zero Trust implementation. So here's a corporate device, meaning we're managing it. Then a lot of times is we can check this box to make sure it has up to date Windows, malware, virus protection. Then if it doesn't, we can give it a score. And if the score is so low, we won't let it get to the applications in the back end, right? And then two is
Hmm.
if it's at a certain level, we'll make you do multi-factor authentication, right? We can check the risk of that box. But how do you handle a management device? And two is like it says, we're gonna assume it has a breach on it and there's malware, so we're gonna check stuff to figure out do we believe it was hacked and if it was a score and if we believe it was hacked, we won't even let you on your network. You will have to actually bring that box into the office to get it re-imaged, right?
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that's let me back up. That's Microsoft's zero trust implementation. It's just kind of some of the same things that, and we'll dig down deeper into that later, so we don't have to really touch on that. Did you have any other questions? I'm just kind of walking through this.
No, go ahead. Not right here.
Okay, okay. So a lot of times, if you're working from home, which everybody is, and you needed an RDP into a system, how would you do that? So this is zero trust from Windows 2019. You RDP actually into a Linux box. That Linux box is hard, and it actually forwards you to a Windows instance for you to manage. So the question is, why would you put a Linux instance there? Because if you RDP into a box and the malware lands here, it's assumed since you RDP it would be a Windows box. So you're actually tricking the malware. Because since you RDP and that's a Windows thing, we switched it over to a Linux box and forward you. So if it gets Windows malware on it, it won't know what to do on that box. So that's kind of what it's showing you.
Ah,
So that's
oh, okay.
kind of the trick to actually harden a Linux box. Since they're actually trying to hack a Windows box, they're gonna assume
Hmm.
that that bastion host is a Windows box and it's not. So a lot of times you get the wrong
Okay.
malware. Then once you get the wrong malware, hopefully you can see it, send it to your SIM. Then your incident response team can come out and handle that piece of
Hmm.
software. So that's what they're showing. This right here, of course, AWS says if you work from home, we got a system manager to help you. So if you use their actually, they call them a bastion host, a box to log into another box. So you log into their EX2 system managers. CloudWatch means just looking at the logs, just saving the logs on a bucket. NSS topping means if it gets alert, NSX it'll actually send a text message to your phone. You can actually log into your app server, which is a window. The security group is the microsegmentation firewall for that app server, so you can log in and work on it. So that's how they want to do, how they want to lock it down and make it only for you to actually be able to get it. Because too, when you go into that EXX box and get on that system, that app server, it's actually have MFA. It's actually going to call you to work on it too, to work on your
Hmm.
phone, so it'll be harder for you to actually hack on it.
Okay. Now I've seen it done several ways. So, for instance, like tell me how like what this would look like for the employee, right? Because right now, and for several of my jobs, I have to, of course, VPN in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I have to do all the certificate stuff, authentication, and all that. And once I'm in, I'm able to work until I'm trying to go to another thing. Then the certificate thing will pop down again, and I'll have to, click that or whatever. Is that basically all that is, or is
Yeah,
there a little bit more to it
and
than
that's
that?
basically what it is. What they did is, and I think it's at the end of that. Since that, a lot of VPNs being hacked, so AWS is trying to make it easy as just logging into a website minus the VPN to actually work on their stuff. So when you log into the EX2, behind the scenes is actually doing VPN to actually get you on a proper subnet. So you won't actually have to use VPN software. So that's good.
Oh,
So
okay.
the two is when you
Okay.
get in there, if you're in AWS, you can move around and behind the scenes, the certificate are actually validating it. So they actually have built the
Okay.
certificate. They try to, like you talked about, and we talked about that. So they trying to make the user experience a little better. Because when you
Yeah.
VPN, you drop in certs. Sometimes you have to VPN to a different subnet to get it. So if you look
Yeah.
down at here, you get the IAM policies that take care of those security groups and what you should get to by that internet access management policy right there tells you what it gets. So that kind of takes the place of your certificates and how you do
Okay.
it. So they're trying to make it like we said the user experience better. But they
Okay.
also believe it's more secure because here's TLS security. They actually have FIPS 140-2 encryption, which is a DoD level encryption. So they actually believe it's actually more secure, and you don't need the VPN software.
Okay.
Let's see. So we were talking about what could we do to block the security pulse, and one of them, the first thing is domain join a machine to Windows 10. So basically, what this does is this makes sure the PC you're using is managed by your organization, right? So the main join says the domain on that machine needs to join with the Active Directory domain in AWS, so I know it's managed by the company, right?
Okay.
So a lot of times we said, okay, that actually hack actually came from another machine. It didn't even belong to the organization, right? So once again, like they're saying, is we validating that that's your machine before we letting it on. If we don't validate and authenticate it, we're not letting you on because we don't know what you got on that machine. We don't know what you've done with the machine, and we don't know if you're blocking the same things we're blocking on that machine.
Right. Right. Okay.
You got any questions on that? Like I'm just kind of flying through this,
Mm-mm.
keeping it short.
Okay.
I'm sorry, microsegmentation. We talked about putting firewalls on a host so it can't go laterally, right? So that's the microsegment. There's two or three ways to do it, but the cheapest one is host-based firewall comes with a Windows server. So that's how we're locking it down. The only problem is, I think you brought that up, is what is the management nightmare of having 100 firewalls on each? Because if you got 100 boxes now, you got 100 firewalls you got to manage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, since you're spinning up those servers the same way, you should be able to spin up that firewall and already and dynamically build your firewalls from the first one you set up, right? Because they
Okay.
talk about infrastructure as code. So you tell a
Mm-hmm.
code, it's called formation. So you say, when I spin up this box, spin up the Windows server wall, sorry, the Windows firewall, and part of that firewall rules are the rules. So as you building your rules up, you have them in another file, and as you build it up, you apply that to that box. So okay, these are our current rules. Spin it up on that firewall as you
Yeah.
spin up the box. You got any questions on that? Windows whitelisting, part of the Windows Server is App Blocker comes with the it comes with the box. So App Blocker tells you what programs you can actually run on a server. So you would say these are the 5, 10, or 11 programs I can run on this Windows server. Anything else like malware should be blocked, right? So it tells you. And two is like we talked about. You're gonna get some pushback because depending on the team, some teams get to download and install what they want, but you as an organization needs to control that. It says these are the approved software from the security team in our organization. Anything else needs to go through a management workflow that says this software has been verified, and a management approves for you to use this software. You just can't go cowboy and just start downloading anything you want.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. We have. I mean, all the organizations have been. I think except the first one. I didn't know of it, but they have really good change management. Uh, where they look at people request
yeah,
things they want to put on the network, and they, give it a really good look. they look at it really to see if it can be on there.
Yeah, like I said, I think we're getting better with change management over the years. And two is we had like a CBC board, a board of people that would make sure
Mm-hmm.
that you could use that software. And if they approved it, then it went to the change board. Before it went to the change board, the security team will look at it and make sure it met the STIGs, or we talk to the vendor and make sure it could do what we need to do and be secured at the level we need it secured at.
Yeah, and for some of that stuff, the AO has to sign something
Oh,
saying, I accept the risk to
most
put this
definitely.
on.
If you're in a
Yeah.
traditional government, yeah, your AO is gonna have to sign off on that.
Mm-hmm.
This was zero knowledge, and there's a encryption technique called Bitlocker, and Bitlocker just says it's government approved, it has the right feature, it has the trust platform module, and it's actually they call it FITS 140-2 certified, meaning it's government approved. So when you put a file on there, if you're doing disk encryption, it would encrypt the disk at a certain level of encryption the government approved of.
Yeah.
So that was the zero knowledge, because you actually brought that up. I never heard of that. I actually had to go do a little research on that. I hate that
Oh,
term.
yeah.
I hate that term. By
You
the
don't
way,
like it?
no, zero knowledge mean I don't know nothing. I should know something.
I like it.
I
I
don't like
like the
it.
whole concept of
I'm
it.
like, I want my encryption to be smart. Man, I'm old. Maybe I get used to it. I'm like, zero knowledge. I want all the knowledge. So let me see. You want to talk about anything else? I actually did the wrong slideshow, but I think you covered a lot of stuff we want to talk about. Did you want to go over anything else?
Is that it? Did we do the other thing? Where's
No.
the other thing at?
Let me bring up the right slide. I used the wrong slide. Let me pull up the
Oh,
right.
okay.
So yeah, let me bring it. That's the one.
So that TPM, that Trusted Platform Network, that stuff comes up in Security Plus.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what I read about that, because they have a whole, I think it's like I don't know, like a nonprofit or something like that. But they come up with all the rules for, computers and servers and stuff, or at least one of the groups who does that. And TPM is one of the things they came up with. I read that it's kind of worthless, except for Bitlocker. Like
it's not
Bitlocker is the
working.
most
We actually have
valuable thing that they.
Am I getting
Yeah.
the wrong slide? Let me get the right slide again. I got the wrong.
And they're also working to create like a root of trust type thing from satellites in space to the devices that they connect with and all that.
No, that's true.
I'm doing a lot of work on that right now.
I'm having a rough day. Why is it not showing me what I need to see? Zero trust. Maybe I still. Hold on, I'm gonna reshare that. Let me see. Here, let me.
So where does the STIGs talk about, and I should probably look this up too, because I know there's a lot you can do in your BIOS for security or in your UFI, how do you say that? UEFI, whatever.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there. When you boot up,
it's in there, okay.
Yeah, it tells you got a password protected. Come on up. You got a password to protect it, and there's probably on boot up. There's probably 10 different checks on boot up. Let me see.
So let me see some of the stuff that I found on this. Okay, you said that. So I read here, it says zero trust can only be successful if organizations are able to continuously monitor and validate that a user and her device has the right privileges and attributes, and it will only be successful if organizations know all of the devices on their networks.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, and if you look at the current slide I got up, let me get there. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, there it is, that maturity model you were talking about.
Yeah, that's one. I got a better slide. I don't think that's right. I gotta get it. So if you see that right there, it says device inventory, So when you use your management device, it
Yes.
checks to make sure we got the inventory right. So if it's not on inventory, you're not gonna get in. So that's gonna make sure everybody get an inventory. So if they're the first time
So
they try to,
how can people get an accurate number of what the hell they have on their networks? Because it seems like it's difficult.
it is
I don't
difficult.
know.
It's difficult. It's super difficult. Well, there's a product called CDMB. CDMB, and what it does is it's a database, but it goes out and does a scan on your network. So anything connected to your network, from a PC, laptop, even wireless, it'll take an inventory of those and show those to you. But to
Is that
it,
expensive? Something? I mean,
yeah, it's a little expensive. But if you're a decent sized company, there's a product called SpiceWorks that's pretty good at it. That's actually free
I've
at
heard
that.
of that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people use that. This got a major one. So if you're doing that and you trying to keep track of inventory, a lot of people use that with them together to figure it out. Because if you're a big organization, you got people coming and going, you doing refreshes, you got training rooms. So
Yeah.
so all of that, you would think we could keep track accurate count. It is super hard, especially if you
Yeah.
like. Because at DoD, I think our org was, because we was in the finance. I want to say it was 15,000 people. That's not
Hmm.
accounting training rooms, and then you talk about phones because they had government phones. So you end up with probably 40,000 objects you trying to keep track of.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the model, like we talked about, most people do a traditional one. The traditional model is on-prem identity with static rules with a little single sign-on, but the network's
Hmm.
flat. Then, like we said, advanced is hybrid identity, finally two access policies, devices are registered and compliant to IT security. Network's a little segmented. So even in the classic, we finally had a little segmentation. An
Hmm.
optimal, like we talked about, is cloud identity, real world, dynamically gate, trusts have been removed from the network entirely, and the micro cloud perimeter and micro segmentation are in place. So I think everybody's really trying to get that micro segmentation in place to kind of get an optimal. But most people aren't doing the artificial intelligence part because it's just way too expensive.
It is expensive.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So when you hook up your laptop to the network or your workstation, you get a score, and that score, like 40% there, depending on that score, it tells you what part of the network you can get into, right? But I think that's even kind of pricey. So that's actually a Windows Defender.
I
So
mean, I like that. That's a great, I mean, I like that.
the
That's
one I
really
showed you
good.
before was for small companies. This is the big company one. For some reason, I moved my smile. I can't find. This is big company. So most big companies use Windows Defender, but it's pricey because most of those shops are our Windows shops, right?
Yeah.
So that shows you that. Then so yeah. So when you log in there, let me get it together. That corporate device inventory will come up with that score, and then depending on that what that score is, tells you what you can get to on the back end, right?
And you see that whole scoring idea,
Mm-hmm.
that stuff goes towards what I want to talk about like a little later
Okay.
about how human behavior comes in here,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
You know, all of this requires human cooperation, for really for this stuff to like just like you were saying before, leadership has to be on board,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. I mean, so the scoring aspect, because we like scores,
Mm-hmm.
and it almost gamifies it. You
Without a
want to
doubt.
have whatever the highest score is for you to be able to get to where you want to go. And if it's not that high, you can't get to where you want to go. That's like incentive, right? For people to really be vigilant about what they're doing,
Oh
and what
wow.
they have to. So I really, really like that idea. I really do.
Then the microsegmentation is see that VLAN right there. Each one of those boxes could talk, but when you do segmentation, this is NXX. This super by VMware, super expensive. Each one of those green boxes is a firewall that moves with that VM. So then each one of those firewalls, you need to put firewall rules. You can block them from talking, or only let them talk to them, or depending on what that score, they might not even be able to get to those VMs. So that's why each one of those VMs is micro segmentation.
See, and this goes with, I think I mentioned to you, what was it called? Oh, attack surface versus protect surface.
Right.
That was just something else I read, where the protect surface is smaller than the attack surface, and it's really the things that, I think it even said, it did say something about, it's a micro perimeter is what they called it.
Right.
That moves, like it moves together with whatever the asset is,
Right. So like you said, so with that score, these firewalls, you can take action too on that score. So if you got a good score, you can get to more stuff. If you got a bad score, like you said, your protected servers would be smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So those are less stuff you better get into.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is on here. Workload. So workload is, what do you need? What system do you need to do your job? Right. What applications are you using in an enterprise? What communications within the application and data? And is communicating with the work secure and trusted. So those are the workloads in there. So if you log in and you're in accounting, right, those application servers up here, you would only be able to get to. Let me get my. You would only be able to get to. So if you're an HR group, you would only be able to get to the HR part. If you was IT, you would only be able to get into the DMZ. So even though you theoretically could get there because of your security groups, depending on what group you is, you're gonna only be able to touch those servers. Right. So that's actually a logical firewall on top of your local firewall right here, and on top of your firewalls on your database servers individually. So
now this sounds like more work. Well, I don't know, more different work for even the policy that you may currently have in place for access and stuff like that.
It is,
right?
It is. There's a product called, I think I got the name over here. Well, I should have put it. It's called a Cisco Tegtration. And what that does is, you say I'm part of the accounting group, it'll follow, you put agents on there, wherever you log in, it'll trace your path. And after a month, you can say, show me the path of this account person. Then you can look at it.
Oh my God.
Verify
really?
Yeah. You want to see it? You want to see it?
I do.
Let me see.
Wow.
Let me know if you can. Let me know if you can hear it. I'm gonna pull out my headset, so it might be reverbed.
Okay.
But let me know how it sounds. Come on, maybe.
Hi again. It's Raj. Since Adam and I started taking a software.
Oh, I stopped it.
I can hear it.
Let me pump it back up. Was that sound level okay?
You can be a little bit louder.
I'm pumping it up.
Defined data center approach, we've gotten a lot of attention around here. Virtualizing the network has completely changed the way we operate. The executive staff is impressed, and the word's getting out. Yesterday, the guy who runs our security team, Jesse, had lunch with Adam, and they tossed around a few ideas. He had a few questions of his own and popped by my office. He said that even though we have a strong data center perimeter defense, it's not infallible. He still has nightmares about threats that do make it through. Those threats sneak through the perimeter defense riding on legitimate user access. And once inside, there are few controls to keep them from moving laterally from server to server. Basically, he doesn't want to be the guy that has to explain the how and why to the shareholders when we get compromised. Jesse has always imagined applying microsegmentation inside the perimeter, but has never seen a way to realistically operationalize, keeping up with all the firewall changes, with VMs being created, moved, and deleted all the time. He wanted to know if our software-defined data center could make a zero-trust security approach possible. So I told him to take a seat. Check this out. It's not like how you traditionally manage firewalls. This is different. It's very automated and baked into the software-defined data center. Here, for example, we can provision a web tier workload or a database tier workload with PCI data, and the appropriate controls are enforced. If the VM moves, its policies move with it. And if we delete the VM, its policy is deleted. And if we identify a vulnerability, the attributes of the VM are dynamically updated and quarantine controls are enforced. Spinning. He says, that all sounds great, but the volume of east-west traffic is massive. How can this be done in software? What's the gag? I tell him that from a performance standpoint, it's a whole new ballgame. The firewalling is baked into the NSX platform. It operates in the kernel of every hypervisor. You get 20 gigabits per second of throughput per host, my friend, and that's only applied to the VMs running on that hypervisor alone. We have over 100 hypervisors. You do the math. So Jesse's like, okay, I get it. Virtual networks are isolated by default. And what you're talking about here is basic stateful firewalling for multi-tier app environments, right? But what about this? What if we want to apply more advanced next-generation firewalling capabilities for some critical application types? I remind him that NSX is a platform, not a competing firewall product. Look, Palo Alto Networks and a bunch of other partners have already integrated with NSX to take advantage of its distributed enforcement and automated provisioning. I think that's when things clicked. Jesse's face lit up. Really? We're...
So you with individuals, my PowerPoint was too big. This is my big company.
Hi.
So this is the
Okay.
Let me see if I can get it to play. So do you have any questions? So like I said, it showed you the VM, how they were micro-segmented with each individual VM with those built-in firewalls. Did you have any questions on that?
No, that was great.
Okay, let me show. Now this is my bad. This is the workload one from Cisco Techtration, a big company. I might need to reach out to Dewan Lab every day, see what his take is on the Cisco Techtration. But this is the workload one. This one's super interesting because once again, like we talked about, it follows you around and it'll build a policy for you, so you don't have to manually build them. So here it goes. Let me know if this sounds good.
It's critical to have traffic flow visibility across your data center to operate, maintain, and run 24/7 with intelligent changes and no scheduled downtimes. Cisco Tetration Analytics uses modern big data technologies to help you understand exactly what's going on in real time to address critical data center operations and security challenges. Application Dependency Mapping. Cisco Tetration Analytics gives you a deeper understanding of data center application dependencies to help enable easier migration to a programmable fabric, replication of your applications for disaster recovery, and identification of single points of failure. Recommendation and simulation. By using the try before you apply approach, automated policy recommendation and simulation gives you a risk-free path to a consistent, whitelist policy-based infrastructure without impacting production traffic. Application segmentation. Cisco Tetration Analytics automated policy enforcement enables customers to realize a consistent segmentation across on-premises data centers and public and private clouds. Visualization. Gain the unique, powerful capability to search billions of records in less than a second with Cisco Tetration Analytics. you can collect data center network flow information in real time at line rate without any sampling. Comprehensive natural language and visual-based search queries help issues and other aberrant behaviors that could go otherwise unnoticed. Issues that are critical to an application owner or to network and operational engineers. Dashboard creation. Cisco Tetration Analytics hardware and software sensors gather comprehensive. This information is thoroughly analyzed and used to create rich informational dashboards that give you critical data points in quick and easy to navigate charts and formats. Users can create their own custom dashboards with queries, filters, and custom display properties to narrow the scope of information to what is relevant for them. Self-monitoring. Cisco Tetration Analytics provides self-monitoring to cluster components that use big data technology and perform analytics including hardware and software sensors for easier cluster management. Cluster self-monitoring eliminates the need for in-house extensive big data technology expertise. Tetration apps. Tetration apps provide the flexibility to extend the use cases supported. Developers, programmers, and data scientists can gain access to the data in the Tetration platform and use their own logic to analyze this data to generate a variety of reports or trigger northbound notification. By combining unsupervised machine learning techniques, behavior analysis, and intelligent algorithms, Cisco Tetration Analytics provides real-time, pervasive visibility into traffic flows within your data center infrastructure to help you meet modern data center operational requirements.
It's $1 gazillion. No, I'm just playing.
I could tell. I could tell. And you know what else, though?
They had your inventory.
This is giving me SolarWinds. It's giving me SolarWinds tease, Professor BlackOps.
Nah, that's
It's
true.
giving me SolarWinds tease.
That's true.
I don't need to get in your organization. I need to get in here. If I can get in this thing, you done.
Yeah, because it's on every machine, every agent. Nah, you're right. But did the workload make
Yeah,
sense? But
I
they
mean,
checked
that's-
the workload for it. But you're right. The risk is that if that gets hacked, you toast. You definitely toast.
It's scary. And you see that big eye, the big eye like Sauron or Lord of the Rings.
I like they let you know they got all the knowledge. They got all the knowledge. For a price, they got all the knowledge. So yeah, but so that
I
was
guess.
the work group. So that's like you said, since it's on there,
I mean,
since
that's-
every agent it'll figure out the work group and the workload and just lock it
Yeah.
into that work group.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my big company.
Yeah.
The one we did was the small company. So if you got money, you can get to Cisco. If you ain't got the money, you're gonna need to do something else and maybe manually do it, but you probably gonna miss something if you manually do it. But
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea though. It sounds like a
But
great.
like you
I
said,
just
though,
be.
that helps you with the inventory because if anything connects to that network or connects to a box, if it ain't on the agent, it's gonna see it and gonna tell you, hey, some connected. This was the IP of that device, and this was the MAC address. So that helps you keep track of your inventory in there.
Well, I believe. What is that tool? Is it called? Is it Forescout? Forescout does that,
Yeah, I
right?
think that does too. That, but my small I tell them use SpikesWorks. That's pretty good for if you don't have any money. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think it's open source. It's pretty good. So in a nutshell, that's kind of different pieces of zero trust. Like you said, verify everything, try to do the workload, and try to do the microsegmentation, which is the big deal. Which that other video was pretty good. It showed you the VM and showed you how the virus can get in there, how you can just lock it down to that particular VM.
Right.
Did you want to discuss? We were talking about user.
Yeah. So I've been reading about user experience design.
Yes.
Okay, which is something I've taken a couple courses in it and all that stuff, which is really important. If we don't want users So let me do this first before I talk about UX. So I read a research paper. It was called, what was it called? Let me see. I think I have it over here. Oh, I wrote that damn thing down. Oh, here you go. It was called Resolving the Psychology of Information Security, Resolving Conflicts Between Security Compliance and Human Behavior. And in it, it talked about 3 reasons why people don't comply with security, with policies. The first reason, it says there's no clear reason to comply.
Yes.
Now, what that means is they're saying employees, they can't make the connection between what they're doing and having to comply with these security rules. And if there's no immediate threat, because it takes effort to comply with something, okay? Unless it's just a seamless process and you don't even see it, right? But if it takes some effort for them to do it and they don't see an immediate danger to not do it, then they'll lean towards just non-compliance,
Right. For us, that's where user training comes in, and user training specifically for their job. So when we do that, part of that is what is the security component of that. So if you work,
Right.
so if you're reporting a HIPAA, you tell somebody, if you force us to get hacked and we're considered negligent, that's $1,000 a record. If you got 3 million records, that's $3 billion. So people start paying attention. Your name is going to be on a $3 billion hack, so we need you to pay attention to these security requirements so you know how to handle your system, log it off. We're going to automatically lock it after 20 minutes of non-use. But we need you to do these things and help us do these things, because if not, your name could be personally held on a fine that's up to $3 billion.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
So, but would that work for an employee? I mean, I can see if the CEO or whatever, but for the low level, I mean, do they
reason why
care?
is I'm gonna say this, and I should say it is, I always tell my boss we need to fire one person a year so we can get everybody's attention. Because if somebody get fired because of security, because they didn't do something, I swear this person didn't do it, so they got fired. That one thing flew through the office. So now they know you're serious about security.
Yeah.
Right? If they don't know you security, I promise you, we got one person. We need to get one person a year. Everybody gonna pay attention.
ProfessorBlackOps. I mean,
I know you're nicer than me. I'm a curmudgeon. I want to take a couple people out, but go ahead.
So that's vinegar. Okay, we can do the vinegar. Okay, but what's the sugar part? Like, how can we get them with sugar? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm old school. Your check's the sugar. So if you out fired in the middle of a pandemic, you get no check. But I think you're looking for something. I know you're looking for something a little different. But I'll tell you what we do. We give office awards for security.
Yeah, like that.
Somebody helped or something, or it blipped, and somebody thought they got hacked, but they didn't. But they came and told us so we could do research to make sure that we're looking good. So we try to do a little both. I'm old school. I like to hit them with the bat, but I see where you're going. Right. So we did start giving out security awards for certain acts. So we try this, we can get you a little drink or a little dinner money. It wasn't much, but it was a nice reward. A little, like you said, a little sugar.
Yeah, because it just makes it easier, I think, if I'm doing this for intrinsic reasons rather than I don't want to be punished. You know what I'm saying? I want to feel, I want to.
This one guy, he actually, which wasn't a big deal. He actually checked his email on a work computer, which is not a huge deal, but I think he got a little it was some little virus. It wasn't super. Our virus protection caught it, but I had to go see him and talk to him and say, okay, this is what you need to do. I promise, true story. I came in, this dude older than me, he's shaking because he swore I'm a firing. He's shaking.
Oh no!
I said, take a deep breath. My boss, he's a little tough. I said, I'm not him. I'm here to train you. He goes, oh my God, I thought you was gonna fire me. I'm like, no, you good. Take a deep breath. I mean, he was really trembling. I'm like, no, I'm the good cop. You're good.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I'm telling you that bat be working. I'm like, I thought the dude was gonna have a heart attack. I mean, he's like white. I'm like, dude, it's not that.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just here to give you a little training, let you know. I think you read your emails, cool, but you downloaded something. He said, oh, it was something. I was like, you can't download anything off of that, right?
Okay.
So that bat be working. That's all I'm gonna
The
say.
bat works. The
Be
bat does
working.
work.
So what you got else on that for me?
All right. So the second reason that people say, or at least the research says people don't comply, is the cost is too high. The cost to follow these security rules is too high. And what they say with that is people's main priority on the job is their job.
Without
Like
a doubt.
security is secondary,
True.
So anything that I feel gets in the way of me getting this client, this thing on time, doing this research on time, getting an outstanding performance this year, anything that I feel is getting in the way of that, I'm gonna do my damnedest to push to the side.
100%. So as a security team, and our org is pretty good, is we're gonna reach out to you and say, okay, from a security standpoint, is there anything that's holding your job up? Now, we might not take it out your way, but let us know. Maybe we can come up with a different process. Maybe we can come up with a seamless process. Maybe we can we can do it a different way. But communicate to us. Don't go around security, because if we get a bug or hack, we're going to come see you. But we got to make sure they're comfortable coming to us, right?
That's awesome.
Like I told you, guy, I'm not here to fire you. Let's just talk about training. Then I think we start blocking. We block people. We don't let them download anything. We use that app blocker. So different products. So there's a ton of different products you can use to block download. So like okay, let's put a product in so they won't. Let's help them, right? So what products can we use? So there's a bunch of open source product, a bunch of Windows product. So block that. So let's work with the customers and the users to try to make sure. Sometimes it's like security is going to be inconvenient, but come talk to us, because we're going to try to at least make it easy as possible for you.
Well, I love that, because and I think you and your team might be an anomaly, right? Because
no,
I don't think a lot of security teams do that.
We got the bat. The president said we need security to work with the users. Y'all can't be an impediment, because if they really go to management, the management can say we're gonna accept that risk. So we don't want the users can go around us and complain to management. Like we talked about, sometimes management's going like, dude, this got to be done at a quicker rate. So we want to try to work with them, because they're going to go snitch on us and we going to get the bat. Right? So let's try to work together.
Yeah, I love that. Just to ask. Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. So the third one, the third reason is they can't comply. There's an inability to comply with what. So one example that they gave here is like, if security puts a limit on the amount of email space or something like that, right? They don't have enough room to do, so they gotta, download it on a laptop, or mail it to themselves, or whatever.
The cool thing is, the team I'm on, I was a developer for 20 years, and the guy, I'm gonna actually interview him. He's one of the top developers. If we see that, we can come up with a solution that'll work for you. So we develop something to move files around that is secure. Yeah. So it's like, it's emails this big. What is another way to move files around, right? So we know too is, and like I said, I'm gonna interview the guy. He's super cool. Is if I know there's a security impediment, is I need to come up with a solution that can work for you, that I can present to the organization. I just can't tell them you can't do that, because they're gonna find a way to do that.
Oh, they will. Absolutely.
And one thing we do is common is they actually have encrypted USB that DoD has DoD encryption on it, that you actually have to do a password for the USB drive. We actually had that problem in real life. I don't want to say, so you can actually get a USB encrypted drive. They're expensive as hell, but so you can actually get those drives and put files on. Because we actually had that problem for some outside vendors. So it's like, okay, so we found these USB drives that's DoD approved.
All right, that's great, and I know that because I mean the job will always come first. I mean
Always.
it will it'll always and as it and I feel like people know, like employees know that the organization, if they had to pick between security and getting the job done, which one they gonna pick? Especially if it's a commercial organization that's looking at the bottom line and all that stuff.
Right.
You don't want to have that be a choice. It can't be a choice between the job and security.
So that's what we try to do on our team is, and like I said, when I work with him for years, is if there's a security problem, we need to come up with a solution to say this is a solution to that problem. We just can't say it's a problem and shrug our shoulders. Okay, what's the workaround to that problem? Or like we just talked about, if it's a Cat 2 from Stick, what is our mitigating control and what is our mitigating process if we can't do it exactly like the Stick said?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And two is if we do it, we can control the security level of that. If they call them, they used to call them shadow IT organizations. If somebody just open up
yeah,
a Dropbox and we don't know about it, they got this whole process. It ain't secure. They sharing files. It could be opened up to the internet. So you don't want people creating shadow IT organizations. You want to work with them so they can work with you. Because they're going to get their job done somehow. Like you said, they're not going to not do
yeah.
their job. So like I said, come work with us. Then we can, try to come up with what we hope for is things we're both cool with. We both might have to give a little bit. It might not be totally what you want. It ain't going to be totally what we want. So it might not be as secure,
Yeah.
but it's way secure than you dropping files on Dropbox somewhere.
Absolutely. Right,
So,
right. And I think that's the key, right? It's just making the effort to work with the organization, which I have not been part of organizations where the security team really did that. Only thing I knew about the security team was, doing stuff so I don't get my computer turned off. Or, I mean, I never had an experience where they actually reached out and said what you just said. Tell
yeah.
us what's working. Tell us what's not working, which is
Well,
so simple. How hard is
yeah,
that?
our management team is they're kind of gruff, so which is good. They're gonna let us know now because they're not scared of security. So, and some of their managers are high enough, really, they could probably go around security if they want. So we try to reach out to them and say, okay, what you need. And two is, and a lot of people don't do that, especially a lot of young people, is what's your requirements,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They just say, well, you can't do that. Well, then what are their requirements to do? Do they need to move a 50 meg file? Does it need to be encrypted? What are their requirements? And I could try to get you something or create something that'll work
Yeah.
for you. If I couldn't do it or I can't find something. So a lot of people just they don't talk in requirements. That's why like Stig says, this is the requirement, and this is the setting for that requirement.
Right.
So if you
Right.
see people say, well, I harden this PC. What does that mean, man? You harden a PC. What check did you put on a PC? Well, I don't know. Dude, did you just pull it out of a book? What are you? Then, like you said, does it roll up to a policy? Well, what is this
Yeah.
check
Yeah.
actually doing? So that's why I
Uh-huh.
like the stick, so you can put them together. And two, if they need to turn something off, I can say, okay, this check is a Cat 2, so I can turn it off. What's my mitigating control? Or you can accept that risk as an org.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
say we
You can
can't
all.
do it, or it's going to be too expensive, or we can do it next year. I can document that. This was the vulnerability. This is the check. The poem says it's going to be done in 6 months. They gave me a project plan. Let's follow away. So when we get audited, if we get audited, or even if we get hacked, for instance, people gonna come in and says, "Okay, what's your checks? Why did
Yeah.
you do this?" Because if not, you're gonna be found negligent. And your fine's gonna be
Mhm.
10 times bigger. People don't care if you get hacked, but like, did you do a risk analysis? Why did you do that? This is what it is. Because
Mhm.
if you go in Congress, that's like going in court. You gotta have all your paperwork and your documentation in order.
Mhm.
So
Right. There's this really, really, I mean, the perfect example of what it means to design with people in mind, the people who are going to use the thing, right? It's a picture of it's like a sidewalk going to a library. Okay,
okay.
so you go down the sidewalk and you take a right, and the library door is right there, right? And then there's the grass, and then there's a big old brown path where people totally skipped the sidewalk and they
Well,
went because it was faster to
without a
get
doubt,
to the parking lot this way than to go around on the side. You know what I'm saying?
that's true.
And that's what we do,
That's it.
you know?
So
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. So I think security teams are getting better. But two is I got a guy. He's actually an architect, and I asked him, could I interview him? He said, why would you want to interview me? I said, we're gonna talk about the real thing. Me and you
Yeah.
arguing, and sometimes you don't like what security says, and we have to go to the
Uh,
CIO because we disagree. He goes, that's a good point. I said, that's real life. You the architect. I give you risk of why you shouldn't do it, but you can overrule me, right? So
hmm
what is that like? What is that like in real life? Like you
Yeah.
said, that's going
Yeah.
around. So how do we get that
hmm
resolved? He goes, I didn't think about that. I mean, people think
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
design something, security like it. I'm like, I don't like half the shit you do, man.
Right. Oh, so this lady, can you take the slides down?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's
Wanna
really
go,
small.
you want to go big?
I want to go big.
I
So
can do that. I can do that.
what's this lady? This lady on LinkedIn, she be saying a whole bunch of stuff. You think I be, saying some stuff? She does too. And I shared one of her posts, right, where she was talking about how the CISO should not be reporting to the CIO because the CIO is not concerned about security.
We just had a discussion. That's funny you brought that up.
Yeah, she said the CIO, when it comes to the CIA triad,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the CIO is all about availability. He or she can't care less about the other two, right? It's just about, is the system staying up? Is it, is it working?
That's not
You know?
100% sure, but there's a lot of truth to that. I'm gonna give her that. There's a lot of truth. Because
Yeah.
the
So
CIO,
she said,
if he gets hacked, he's gonna be the first one. He's gonna be first in line if he gets hacked, though. Not if the
yeah,
CISO report to the CIO gonna be first in line. Now the CISO might be right next to him, but they looking at him
hmm
at first because he's in control of the organization. Because about the
yeah,
CISO, I'm snitching on him. Like, hey, I tried. He didn't let me do it, boss. He was standing on me, man. I was trying to make some moves. I'm gonna set him up.
right.
I was trying to make some moves. But no, I've actually seen that. The weird thing is, I did a video, but it wasn't a very good video. Is the CISO is actually going in front of the board of directors because ransomware is just so big and hacks are so big. They trying to get a handle on security, and they like you said, the CIO. That's just one part of his job. So they might.
Yeah.
So with those ransomware and those big hack schools are getting taken out too. So they're actually letting the CISO report to the board of directors now. I
Yeah.
just
And that was the whole thing. Yeah.
so, but I can see that. I think some of the newer orgs are doing that. I don't think it's real rampant yet with the CISO going directly to the president.
I don't think they're not doing that. They're not doing that in government, are
Nah,
they?
but the cool thing is he's usually in the room because a lot of times the CIO need him to whisper in his ear because he don't really understand all of that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like
Yeah.
you said, he's got a lot of programming and all that, but so they usually go in together, or a lot of
hmm
times he usually gives him a briefing so he kind of know where we at. So
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought that I'd never heard anyone say that. And I was like, that's really interesting.
I've actually heard about like 5 years ago, to be honest. So yeah, they've been
Yeah.
talking about that. But like you said, I don't think it's in practice a lot, but I think a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah. And something you mentioned on Alpha Cyber's channel, and it is that how some, when things are discovered, I think you mentioned it, either you or Davin mentioned it. Sometimes it's not even the IT or
Oh, it's
security
usually
team
not.
behind it. Like
No,
regular people,
it's regular
you know.
people most of the time.
Yeah.
Because unless you
Yeah.
got the behavior top analysis and you got most people can't afford a threat hunter on staff. So a lot of
Yeah.
times it's going to be like, my machine was doing this on startup. Then that's going to charge you. Or I was looking and I saw a file move and it wasn't me, right? Because those command controls takes over your machine and they could be on it while you
Yeah.
on it. So not especially if you're a mid-sized company, it's going to be the
Uh-huh.
users. It's going to be a user or the DBA's working on it and something's funny when he tries to restart it. It's very
Uh-huh.
rarely going to be, I think, it's very rarely going to be security team. Because I think
Yeah.
you're
It's
more blue
funny. Yeah.
team. Most security teams are blue teams. They're not out there
Yeah.
hunting. They ain't red teaming. They're not pen testing because they don't have enough time and enough expertise. So a lot of times it's gonna be the user. You're gonna focus on blue team locking it down.
Yeah. Yeah. I know in the IG report for the OPM thing,
Yeah.
it was an
I was in that
outside.
breach. I was in that breach because I worked. That's when I was at DOD. They got my info.
Yeah, I was at OPM when that happened, right?
Man,
And it
what
was
y'all
like
doing over at OPM? What y'all doing, man? You're setting us up. No, I'm just playing.
yeah.
Setting us up.
All I know is everybody hands was tied behind their back after that
But when
breach.
you get a nation state, people just don't realize how much expertise is out in the world that we trained them most of the time. We trained them in the U.S. and they went back home. So there's just a lot of stuff out there for that. But I thought you made a good point. Is if we get breaking into, why we doing more red teams? So we just go red team. We gotta make blue team sounds cool. What was I think I was on Cyber Channel because Alpha Cyber because that 3 hours was a lot of time. But I said we gotta go to the clubs and make it cooler for us.
There you go. We have to do something. We
Because hacking's
really do.
cool. They got the movies. John Travolta, he did that hacking movie. You know, they made it look all cool, and they got the girl.
Hacking has been, it's whitewashed, just like I said at the big thing. It's been it's a criminal activity that's been whitewashed because of who's doing it, because of who started doing it.
But look at the blue team. We usually got a pocket protector, thick glasses on. That make blue team be looking bad, man. I'm like, can we get a skinny suit on? I want to wear one of them skinny suits like the millennials, man. Flood with no socks on. That's how I'm coming out.
I told you need a calendar. Yeah. We need a minute cybersecurity calendar. We really do. So
boy, you should have got me 88 when I was skinny, man. I don't know about that. I'm about to leave that for the blue team millennials. I want none of that.
Well, you walking now. You could be on a calendar in a couple months.
Boy, I'm sorry, like Al Bundy. I was Al County in 1990. I could run a mile. It's all good. I'm running to the refrigerator. That's where I'm going. I'm running to the refrigerator. But now, like I said, we got to make it. And like you said, and you brought that up, and I think Gabe was saying, shout out to Gabe, shout out to Maddox in the box, shout out to Kenny Conjo, is the Stigs ain't sexy. People hate Stigs. It's just not sexy. It's too hard. But I'm like, how you going to advocate for less security? So you saying the Stigs too hard and you want to do something less? I mean, can you say that and be in cybersecurity? But
right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I have small companies do it. They get upset. I'm like, dude, if you want to do government, go big or go home, man. Let's don't penny pinch it, man. Let's go, man. I got your back. So let's do it, man. So, but I don't know. But I tell people, I'm like, dude, we get hacked. There's a hack every week. I'm like, dude. So obviously we're not doing something right. We need to change it up. Let's go Stigs all the way. So I don't know.
Stigs all. I agree. Incorporate them is, I don't know. There's a lot we can do, because when I did that research about, the most cyber secure country in the world, Japan is doing some stuff. Like they have a whole. It was like a whole hardening CTF. A hardening. I've never heard of a hardening CTF. Never. I mean, and they're doing really innovative things that we just don't do over here.
Yeah, but they're controlled by the government, so they can say, we're working on this as a country, even if you're not good or not. If not, they're going to lock you up. They seriously. We the government. This is a dictatorship.
You're going to be secure or else.
Yeah, secure, you're going to be in jail. So it's different. They're like, we are the government. This is what we work on. But I tell people laugh because I was talking about the manosphere. I was like, how is the United States going to fight a country where they say this is our 200-year plan of where we want to be as a country? The United States, we live quarter to quarter. We're trying to make this stock price of this. Their country said, this is what we're going to do as a country. This is our 200-year plan. So a lot of people don't realize if we don't get it together, they're going to be the dominant country. They're right there with us now because they plan.
Somebody about to discover America right now.
For real.
Like, seriously? So, America about to be discovered.
So we trying to, get the next app, get the bag. It's like, dude. But I have to be honest, I was telling my class one day, they was like, we should do a project. I go, I'm not smart enough to do a project. They said, why you said that? I was like, if you brought Snapchat to me talking about dog ears, I would have slapped you in your face, and that's a $1 billion problem. You out there with your tongue out with the ears. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing. That ain't gonna never make any money. I said, I'm too old, man. You can tell me an app with dog ears is gonna be a $1 billion company. I'd have slapped you in your face, man. So I don't know anymore, kids. I'm not the one. I'm like, really? You got the dog, and people love that stuff. Grown women do that. I'm like, you too old to be the dog ear, baby. But they doing dog
Yeah.
ear. So obviously I can't tell what a $1 billion company is anymore. That's all I'm gonna say.
Uh-huh.
But no, you're right. We need to get a blue team summit. So I think that's gonna be my thing. So I'm trying to get make blue team
I'm right there with
cool.
you.
Trying to get I've been trying to reach out to the purple team lady. So just
Mm-hmm.
kind of figure out, okay, we gotta harden this stuff before we attack it. Just because you attack it don't mean we harden it. Because like
Right.
they usually focus on one thing. They usually know, okay, this software has got an error. That doesn't talk about the other 99 things I did right.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
just one
That's
little
true.
thing. So
That's right. That's right. A lot of room for improvement. But this was great, Professor BlackOps.
okay,
I
okay.
love talking to you. You're so
That's all
knowledgeable, and
good.
all this stuff is
Just let me
great.
know. Shout out to anybody in the box. If you got something you want to talk about, we can come online and chop it up. So, like I said, I actually enjoyed this, and that helped me because zero trust is a new thing even in the government. Because I think it was NIST 800-207 is their document. So they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
promote it to all the government agencies. Like I said, the one we did yesterday was using Duo, and right there that was using Windows Defender. So you can use different products to do zero trust. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
done one way. So shout out to Devin. I was doing it actually in AWS to get my AWS skills. So those are one of the slides I was doing AWS. So I'm gonna try to, and I sent you the link. I'm gonna try to replicate what
Yeah.
they believe is zero trust, but they were missing microsegmentation in there. So I was kind of confused. Like we said,
Mm-hmm.
it's like their maturity model. I think they were still in one and not in advanced. So their
Mm-hmm.
microsegmentation was a little light. I was going to actually use Docker containers. A lot of programmers are using containers now. So I was going to use the container as my microsegmentation. So
Okay.
I was going to spin it
Okay.
up in Docker because you can control your network traffic inside Docker to figure out if I
So
can
you know
get.
what I was thinking? What I was thinking with that, because I've been trying to learn more about virtual machines and like what that is and like what's actually going on in the machine, like when all that stuff is happening, right?
Mhm.
So when reading about it, like really simply, it's basically just some software sharing your CPU
It
power,
is. Now remember, there's
and
two
the
things. There's VMs. That's what you're talking about. Then there's containers, which is like VMs, but it's a little different.
how are they different?
I'm gonna send you a video on it so I can explain.
Okay.
Well, I can explain it is I take it back. VM actually each has the OS and each a virtual machine. A container, there's
Yeah.
one OS, and the container sits on top of the OS. So
Okay.
that way you can scale it more because you're not carrying the whole OS with you in each one of your virtual machines. So it says you get better threading and better throughput.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
and the VMs admins got to spin them up with containers since the OS and the binary files are stable. I as a developer can just put the containers out myself because the only thing I'm worried
Okay.
about is my software.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah. I'll look at the video and
I'll drop it to you on your LinkedIn.
yeah,
So
I want to understand that
so yeah,
more.
it was a good video of that. So like I said, so there's a ton of ways to do virtual machines, and like I said, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a cheaper way to do it. And I think a lot of smaller companies probably go that route. And actually,
Yeah.
Amazon they can actually control your VM inside their operations where they spin up the actual container for you. It was called
Okay.
EKS. So yeah, I was gonna look into that, and I was like, ooh. So then let them control everything, and I just put my software out there. And I think with configurations and cloud formation, you can automate all of that as you spin them up, what you want the communications to be.
Right.
So,
Right.
so that's what I
Okay.
was trying to look up next. It's just so much to learn sometimes. I tell my
Oh, it
students
is.
once you get in your 50s, man, it's hard to learn. In 20s, I thought I could drink Mountain Dew and recall everything. I'm like, I'm not recalling it. I'm not recalling it. It's getting too long. I can't recall it. But no, it's all good.
All right.
You got anything else for me?
No, I think that's it. This was great. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Thanks for coming. I'm glad I figured
Mhm.
it out. I got to go live more often. I'm like, I forgot to hit one button. I'm like, oh, I forgot to hit the button. I'm confused. Have a good night. Happy Friday, because it's almost here.
All right. You have a good night.
You too. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye.